Chechnya, Separatism and Conflict. This presentation will cover the main concerns in Chechnya. Chechnya's geography. Chechnya is located in the southwestern corner of Russia in the North Caucasus Mountains. Chechnya's capital is Grozny. Pictured above, you can see how separated it is from the rest of Russia. Chechnya, a brief history. The Chechen people have a history of rebelling that can be traced back to the time of Russian czars. Chechnya declared independence in 1991. The First Chechen War took place from 1994 to 1996. The Second Chechen War started in 1999. It was labeled a counter-terrorist operation by the Russian government. This second war generated mass amounts of chaos, including the daily kidnappings and murders of civilians. These attacks were perpetrated by both sides, the Russian forces and the rebel forces. The Chechen people have rebelled against every government, including the Soviet government and most recently the Russian government. They have remained dedicated to separatism even throughout the chaos around them. Many Chechen people have experienced the murders or disappearances of family members. These events are recent and have influenced how the Chechen people live and react towards the Russian government. During the Second Chechen War, soldiers often expressed brutality towards civilians, and many people who survived were left with nothing. Chechnya, the 2003 referendum. In 2003, a referendum was held in Chechnya. This marked a historic step towards a dual state in Chechnya. Voter turnout was much higher than expected, and in some areas up to 95% of the electorate voted. The vote was intended to make Chechnya an autonomous republic, in which the Russian president could dismiss the Chechen president. The referendum was presented as a vote for peace. There was skepticism about the validity of the votes. This referendum was held on March 23, 2003. Over 400,000 Chechens reportedly showed up to vote. The Kremlin had previously predicted that 66% of Chechens would vote, but the result was up to 95% in some areas. When the vote was counted, a new constitution was voted in. The vote was intended to end separatist ambitions. There are many doubts about the validity of the vote since there was no real established security or observers. There are also rumors that votes were rigged and that voters were blackmailed. It is also said that rebels were not permitted to vote. Still, this referendum was held in high esteem, as many thought it marked the end of the Second Chechen War. Although the Russian government assured many refugees that their homes in Chechnya were safe to return to, this was untrue. By affirming the vote, Russia's governmental power in Chechnya was recognized. This vote changed little of the chaos in Chechnya. Attacks continued well after this vote. Most of the information can be found in the article that was assigned for the weekly reading. Chechnya after 2003. In 2004, the president, Ahmad Kadyrov, appointed by Putin, was assassinated in a bomb that killed several people. Attacks like this have been ongoing in Chechnya, and the above only marks one of several attacks that happened in that year alone. Rebels are labeled as terrorists, and many times the general Chechen population are portrayed as terrorists. In 2007, Ramzan Kadyrov became president. He was the son of the previous Kadyrov president. Chechnya is one of the most dangerous places in Russia for journalists. Even after 2003, chaos continued in Chechnya. Civilians continued to be massacred, and the crimes that were present before continued to occur. The Putin administration made multiple efforts to portray things in Chechnya as returning to stability, although this was far from true. Many Chechen people consider themselves outsiders, isolated from Russia, and many continue to want independence. Chechen rebels are often blamed for many attacks that have occurred in Russia during the past 10 years. Although in 2008, major tensions and conflicts ceased, crimes continue to go unsolved and prosecution for war crimes is almost non-existent. Media is banned from Chechnya, and journalists or civilians that report from refugee camps or inside Chechnya are often beaten, disappear, or are murdered. The Russian government does not interfere much with Chechnya, although Kadyrov takes his orders from Moscow. In an effort to maintain order in Chechnya, Ramzan Kadyrov has made murder and kidnap a form of control. This ensures that no opposition is heard. The media in Chechnya. Human Rights Watch has cited Chechnya as one of the most dangerous places for journalists. National media portrays events in Chechnya as minor and tries to convince the public that things are fine. Journalists in Chechnya are attacked from both the Russian forces and the Chechen rebel forces. As media plays a large part both in the international sphere and in causing opinions to shift, it should be assumed that journalism from Chechnya is vital for change. The dangers in reporting from the area are so extreme that many civilians won't even speak about their situations. Neither the Russian government or the Chechen separatists and rebels want information about the state of Chechnya to surface. Many journalists are exiled, beaten into silence, or murdered. These murders often go unsolved, and the Russian court systems are often found to be inadequate and corrupt. Hope for Chechnya? In Chechnya, protests are prohibited. Organizers of protests and opposition groups are arrested or disappear. What can be done? International intervention, such as that of the UN or other human rights entities, may be necessary. The Russian government could push for change in Chechnya, but this could result in more violence. It is difficult to tell if there is hope for Chechnya. Although violence has decreased, it is a daily threat. Chechens live in fear or join rebel groups, preferring to become martyrs. Many of these civilians feel as if they have nothing else to lose. Separatist movements continue to battle with Russian forces, and media is unable to provide transparency about the situation in Chechnya. The people have previously tried to protest war, but these protests have ended with arrests and have caused no change. There are many questions about how the situation in Chechnya should be addressed. It has come to the attention of human rights groups and the international community that Chechnya continues to perpetrate abuses against its people. Perhaps international interference is really needed to change things. In the international community, however, there is little consensus about what can be done. Since many civilians in Chechnya have developed a violent way of life in order to defend themselves, most are portrayed as criminals. If the international community did interfere in Chechnya, relations between Russia and other countries could disintegrate. If the Russian government was to push for more change in Chechnya, it could lead to more violence. If Russia was to grant separatism or independence to Chechnya, then things may continue the same. Questions. So what can be done to resolve the human rights crisis in Chechnya? Should the international community interfere? Is the media making any impact? What do you think about the Russian government's role in Chechnya? Do you think separatist movements will always have their place in Chechnya? Thank you.